Good morning and happy Tuesday. Welcome to another great show of Money Truth Moments with Judy Copenbarger. Good morning, Judy. How you doing?
I am awesome. Good morning to you. It's a beautiful day, beautiful sunshiny morning. I'm really excited. Happy Tuesday.
Oh, right back at you. This is a beautiful morning. I can't wait to get started because we are going to be talking today about a very important subject, and we're going to be talking about how to prepare for retirement. And that's a big one for a lot of us. Some of us, especially with what's going on right now, a lot of folks have been forced into retirement. A lot of folks have been caught with unexpectedly having to retire or finding other opportunities. But I thought today's show was a great idea for getting folks to prepare for retirement. So I appreciate you being here, and I want to make sure that we spend enough time on this. So let's jump right in.
All right, I'm ready. Let's go.
All right, so I've got two questions that come up over and over. And one of them is, can I really afford retirement planning? And number two is, will I run out of money before I run out of time? I think those are two important questions that folks have come up with and keep asking over, including myself,
Sure. Well, I think it's really important for people as they're 2, 3, 4, 5 years or more out from retirement or a proposed retirement date, an expected expected retirement date, to really feel like they're not going to be a burden on their children. Working with people over the years, that's one thing that comes across. I really don't want my kids to have to take me in. I don't want my kids to have to cover my medical expenses. I want it the other way. I want to be able to live out my life in a nice, healthy way and with a great lifestyle, but still leave them something instead of having them have to take care of me. So it's such an important question. So the first thing was about planning. Like, can I afford the planning? Well, it doesn't have to be a really big, expensive, involved deal. I mean, sure, you could hire a financial planner. That's, how I've built my life and pretty much raised my kids, doing strategic planning for families. But not everybody needs that level. People that just want to make sure that they have the number there on the right date, like there's enough. That planning doesn't have to be super strategic or technical or expensive. There are things that you can do if you know how to use the basic retirement calculators, if you know how to allocate, which is last week's challenge. We're going to talk about that. How to allocate what you do have to make sure that it's outgrowing the pace of inflation. It wouldn't work if you had $1 million or $5 million and you're going to live off it for 30, 35, 40 years. We're living a lot longer than we used to, right? So we got to plan for that. One of the two of you statistically is going to be well into your 90s if you're married. So you want to make sure you don't run out of money before you run out of time. That's important. So sustainability is a big deal. But you want to make sure that it doesn't cost you more than it should for the planning. It's making sure the allocations are there. So you have enough equity, you have enough bonds where you can weather a storm. Because if you've got 20, 30, 40 years of retirement years where your money has to make the money for you, you can still be working out there, but, work maybe is optional for you. You don't get paid. Maybe you're volunteering, helping with the grandkids or causes that you care about. And your money now is doing the heavy lifting, doing the hard work. So you have the money earning the money for you. And as that comes in, you want to make sure that it's sustainable. So balancing it properly, making sure that it's going to outpace inflation is going to be huge.
Excellent. So tell me, how does someone, especially right now with the youth, how young should we be starting to think about this, and how soon should we be start out planning for our retirement, right? Especially those going out of high school. I know there's a lot of kids right now. I happen to be teaching high schoolers who some of them don't really even have a clue what they want to do when they leave high school.
Yeah. Well, I think money education, financial education ought to start as soon as the babies are old enough to not swallow the pennies. They should be handling money, learning about money, practicing spending money, because most people, that's where they go wrong. It's easy to earn money, but spending it properly, allocating it once you have it is really the art. It's an art and a science together. So I think early and often, I think one of the things that you can do for your children or your grandchildren or any young people that you care about is get them started early with investing. And it can be very simple. If a child is 2 years old or 3 years old, they can work. Maybe they're in the entertainment industry. We had twins that did all that, but they can still work. They can empty the dishwasher and put the spoons away. They can set the table. They can line up the shoes by the patio door or sweep, the porch. They can do things to earn money. And I'm not talking about allowance. I'm talking about earning chores or earning money by doing work. Because as an adult, that's what we do. So I think one of the things that they can do if they have earned money, the IRS says they can have a Roth IRA. So if they earn $500 in a year doing things around the house, drawing pictures for you, cleaning up, making their bed, whatever it is that they do and they earn money, that $500 can go into a Roth IRA and grow tax-free all their days. Imagine what that would do at the other end. I mean, it's just crazy. Let me see if I got some money down here. I have some money right here. So if you take a kid that did that, and you were in a household where they earned money as a child, by the time they're teenager, every dollar that they put in their Roth turns into one of these. Every single dollar. So if by the time they get ready to go off to college, 18, 19, 20, something like that, they have earned, let's say $5,000 in their lifetime, you add 2 zeros to that, $500,000 they're going to have at the other end.
Wow.
By not adding any more to it. And of course, we're going to train them to do that. But every dollar turns into a $100 bill because time is your friend. And that's starting early. So let's suppose they didn't get that memo, right? They go off to college, they're in their 20s. They get out, they get their first job. And because they were savvy, because they listened to us and they listened to mom and dad and grandma and grandpa, every dollar in their 20s that they earn turns into one of these. Well, that's not a bad deal either. So if you think about the choices that 20-somethings make, that'd be the millennials, right? The end of the millennials now. If they are going to go out and have a $5 cup of coffee, great. I think everybody should do that once in a while. But if they do it every day, that's a lot of money that could turn into these, right? So if you have a $5 bill that's going to go 50x, you take 2 zeros and then cut it in half. So $5, that's 50, 500, $250, right? So $5 coffee turns into $250 at the other end. If they will simply make a choice, maybe once or twice a week, instead of 5 big fancy coffees, maybe 3. And the other 2, take that $10 and put it into a $500 at the other end Roth IRA or some kind of an investment that's going to grow. That's the opportunity you have in your 20s. So if you're in your 20s and watching this, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you do that, right? So 20s is tough because we got our first job, we got our first place. Maybe we're thinking about getting married. We're spending money on flowers for our honey, all those things. Try to across, wherever, Europe. So we don't quite get to it. Then the babies come. It's like, oh boy, it's just hard. I don't go to Starbucks much anymore, but that money goes somewhere. Life is happening. So if you didn't get the memo, you didn't get this understanding or really have the discipline to save a little bit every time until your 30s, every dollar turns into one of these. That's a $20 bill. Not bad, right? Not bad. So every dollar is 20x at the other end. Time is still your friend. So even if you're in your 30s and you haven't started or you have a young person in your life that's in their 30s, every dollar is going to turn into at least $20 at the other end if they get going and they do something either tax-free or tax-deferred, and like retirement programs that are out there. So the people in the 30s, they're in the middle of it, right? They got PTA and they've got soccer and they're trying to just hold it all together, swimming lessons and, buying flag football cleats and all that stuff. So you get to your 40s and you go, wow, that decade went fast. I don't know how it happened, but now I've got teenagers. Well, still, every dollar that you save, and I'm talking about, eat pizza in or eat pizza out. Go out to the movies or take the movies in. $20, $30, $40, right? If there's several of you.
Yeah.
Every time you do that, every dollar, if you are saving for retirement in your 40s, every dollar turns into a $10 bill. And you're thinking, oh, I like the $100 plan better, but I
Hmm.
lost time. I don't have as much time now for my money to go to work. But I'll tell you, if I was going to stand here and trade you $1 for $10, we'd be here all day, right?
Right.
It's not a bad,
Yep.
10x is not a bad.
Right.
So that's what happens if you're in your 40s. And of course, if you're in your 50s or beyond, we're going to have a different kind of bill, right? $1 turns into $5. It's still not a lot of it's not $100 bills. It still doesn't seem like as much, but it's 5x. And again, if I offered you, you give me one, I'll give you five, we'd be doing that a lot, right?
Absolutely.
So the
Absolutely.
point is, if you haven't done the planning that you hoped for, there's no shame in it. There's no guilt in it. Just pull your boots back on, get back in the game, and every dollar counts. Every $10 counts. Every $100 counts. It's not too late for your money to get some traction and get the earning power to make sure that your retirement becomes sustainable when it's time. So do something is my point.
Gotcha. And that also leads me to something very important that I think a lot of folks are experiencing, especially those that are already retiring. A lot of them tend to become a burden to their kids, or at least their kids see them as a burden because they didn't save enough. Now kids are trying to take care of their parents. And I grew up in the environment that for me, I'm always going to do whatever it takes to take care of my parents because they did the same for me. But nowadays it's a little bit different, right? Jobs are different. What we're dealing with is different. So those folks that are currently right now have been forced to retire are depending a little bit more on kids. And so I think one of the questions I had for you is, and you answered most of it already, is how do we make sure that our parents are taken care of, right? If they didn't plan properly, is there ways? And you said it's never too late to start, regardless of where you're at. I like for you to mention also the online program that you have that I think would be very valuable, not only to to young adults, but valuable to just anybody, right? Whether you're starting now or you are in the process of just getting your first job, or at the tail end, like you said, 4 to 5 years out before retirement. But talk about your online mastery program, please, because I think it's very valuable as a resource and a tool.
Absolutely. And for people that don't want to hire a planner or they don't want to go do strategic planning with a professional, not everybody wants to do that. Not everybody wants to be that open with their finances. If they're coming from, I wish I would have done better. There's some embarrassment for some people. I think it's awesome when you have made a mistake that you learn from it and you just go forward and do better, right? Because you know better. But yeah, the online program, it's the Money, Truth, and Life online mastery program. And it goes through not only retirement planning and asset allocation and how to invest your money and how much to invest so you have the right amount, to sustain you in your later years. It goes through how to protect what you've grown as well. So I talk a lot about a greenhouse in there. That's the visual that I like for a protective structure. So they're protective things that you do, like insurances and legal documents to protect what you've grown. But then you also want to be optimizing the growth that you have. So minimizing fees, minimizing taxes, making the growth as high as it can be. Sometimes just getting the fees off, you add 2, 3, 4% a year, which over time is huge. So it's just getting all that right. It's knowing not only what to do, but how to approach doing it at your house. So you can make your own plan if you are a do-it-yourselfer and you really want to just do it as an independent person, or it'll give you all the right questions to ask a professional that you might be working with in the legal field or the insurance field or an investment advisor, a wealth manager, to ask the right questions and just have a basic understanding and how to use the knowledge that you're gaining. So going back to your question about what do you do if you're already retired and oops, I'm not sure. I didn't see it coming. It happened quicker than I thought. Time does go by, So what if you feel like there's not enough and you really don't want to be a burden to anyone? I can't imagine. My dad died, before we were married, as a young man. But my mom is almost 91 and she lives with us now. So, and we're not taking care of her. I feel like she's taking care of us. She doesn't have a big income. She doesn't have a pension and all that. but she's out there weeding in the garden. She's out there sweeping up the driveway. She loves laundry. I don't get it, but what a blessing, right?
Yeah.
In the middle of the night when she's not sleeping, she gets up and folds laundry and puts it away. So, and she's happy to help with, if there's something on the floor, she'll pick it up. And it's kind of her gym. Now that gyms are closed, she's panicked, right? So that's how she does her workouts. So I don't feel like we're caring for her, and in no way is that a burden. It's such a blessing that we all get to be here and the grandkids got to know her growing up. But it's just financially maybe looking out for her, but it's not always just about the money.
Correct.
But one thing I wanted to answer your question about these retired folks that are there, and maybe it came too soon. They don't have what they thought they would have. And how do I know I'm not going to run out? Well, there's easy calculators to help you determine, and we can, maybe put a resource out to help you determine if the amount of money you have right now and the income, maybe from your pension or Social Security, it's enough, or maybe a rental income, right? Is it enough for me to have everything I need? And if it's not, it's just a matter of going back to your very specific outcomes that you desire. So your goals. And if you have a goal of having, let's say it's $5,000 a month to keep, the lights on and be able to, golf or whatever you do. If you need $5,000 a month, it may be that that's not sustainable, and you're going to want to know that rather than later. If it's not sustainable, what can we do to make sure it is going to become sustainable? So one thing would be to change the time when that period starts. So that might be, I need to work a couple more years. I need to do something part-time or find some other income before I actually turn on that period of time where the money's going to earn the money solely for me. So some people do that. You see people in all kinds of positions. A lot of times it's for the insurance, the health insurance, until the Medicare kicks in. But you'll see older people out there doing all kinds of jobs out there in public. And they have the insurance. They're also putting in more into their Social Security. So it will increase when it turns on, when it's time to turn it on. So one thing is to delay the period from when the money will earn the money, which, a lot of people might call retirement or freedom. Another thing that you could do is change the amount. So in our little story here, if you need $5,000 a month, could you do it on $4,700? Could you do it on $4,500? And if you did, what difference would that make at the other end on the trajectory? Would it become more sustainable? So instead of running out of money at 85, you'd run out at 95 or something like that. So that's how you can use the calculators to say, maybe I should pull back a little bit now. On the other hand, some people right now, they want to go backpack across the country. They want to go take their trips, grandkids in the RV and do the big anniversary bash in Hawaii or whatever it is. So maybe they're thinking, now I'll spend more, but then, I probably won't feel like traveling to Paris when I'm 92. Maybe you will, but if you already did it before you get a bum knee or something and it's hard to get around, some people do it that way too. The danger in doing that is you want to make sure that it's sustainable on the backside, and you're not all of a sudden going to have your lifestyle fall off the cliff. And maybe you won't be a burden to your children, but if all you can do is just stay home and cook TV dinners or eat soup out of a can, it's like, that's no life either.
Right.
I know I talked about so many things right there, but
no, but it's actually very helpful. Totally.
Yeah, there's a lot to think about for a sustainable retirement, but I think that sustainable is the word that makes a difference for people of becoming a burden or not.
Excellent. So I know that, like I've always said, that, time flies when you're having fun, right? And then I always appreciate your wisdom, folks. If you're joining us, please make sure that you follow Judy at judycopenbarger.com. There is a wealth of additional information that you can get on her website. There's lots of videos and information for her YouTube channel. She's on social media. Look her up on LinkedIn and Facebook as well. Make sure that you are following her. We are here every Tuesday morning at 8 o'clock. And now it's one of my favorite parts of the show, and it's our challenge.
Woohoo!
I love this part of our show. So I want to make sure that you talk to folks about last week's challenge and explain it a little bit again for us. And then I look forward to hearing this week's.
All right. Well, last week we did a deep dive into the investment allocations. And that's just an answer to the question, where should I put my money? How should I be invested? And of course, the answer is going to vary for, your age, your risk tolerance, the goals that you have, the horizon, how many years do you have to do all that? So, but really it comes down to somewhere, for most people, somewhere between 70 and 80% equity. That's the part of your investments where you own something like stock, right? Equity, you own equity in your house, you own equity in a company, that's stock. So 70 or 80% there. And then the other 20 to 30% should be in something that's not equity. Because when stock's going up in value, bonds are coming down. When bonds are going up, stocks are coming down. And bonds is one of the interest instruments that we have to invest in. It's not correlated with stock. It does the opposite. So that's your treasury bills, commercial paper, anything that's interest related. So you want to have your equity at 70% or so, and your interest allocations at maybe 30%-ish. So the feedback I got last week of the people who responded, the highest, well, let's start with the lowest. The lowest equity that we had, looking for that perfect pie, that perfect balance that will weather all these economic storms, was 53% equity, 53% stock, and 47% cash, treasury bills, bonds, and things like that. That was very low. So this couple corrected, and they didn't know, they were really surprised it was that low. It was very conservative, more conservative than they are. So they raised their equity position. They just sold some of their bonds, added stock and got that balance there. So now their balance is right there. It's just over 70% equity, 30% bonds. Perfect. Then the highest one that I had was 92% equity, 92% stock, and 8%, and it was hardly any bonds. It was mostly cash. So that's a very, very aggressive portfolio. And the reason I say aggressive is because stock market goes up, you're going up with it. It goes down, you're going down with it, almost at the same curve. So it can be dangerous when we have a nosedive or a trough, right, in the market. So we talked about it. This couple has other investments that are very, very much more conservative than this one. This happens to be a retirement program that we were looking at. And so the other investments are more conservative. When we looked at everything as a very collaborative whole, there was no reason for them to change the equity from 92% down. They had other parts of their portfolio, other investments that made their overall pie right where it needs to be. So they decided to keep it at 92 and 8. The other couple, however, increased their equity, which they're going to see a whole lot better performance, better ROI in the coming years. So that's what happened out of last week's challenge. I have one for you this week. Are you ready?
Let's do this. Yes.
Okay. So this week won't be as technical. It won't be having to go on Morningstar and look up what you have and try to read your statements, although it's a great exercise. For people that don't do that, you should look. So this one, we're going to talk about retirement a little bit. So the three things that I want you to do is this challenge, and you have 48 hours to do it. You ready? The first one.
Let's do it.
To write down, pen and paper, right? We like pen and paper. There's something about your brain to your eye to your hand to the pad, that does something magical. So the first question for you to answer on paper is, what can I change in the context of my retirement? What can I change to increase my my probability of success, to increase my sustainability? So what could I do to make sure I'm not going to run out of money before time, not going to be a burden on my kids, not going to have to eat cat food or go to work in my 80s, right? What can I do? Write it down. What can I do? Maybe there's a couple things that come to mind. The next thing is to write a very specific task or action item that you can complete in 48 hours. So it might be having a conversation with a spouse or a parent or a child. It might be going back to look at your statements. Am I okay? It might be looking up a retirement calculator to make sure that income that you're going to need forever is inflation proof and won't run out. It might be grabbing the Money, Truth, and Life book or engaging in the Money, Truth, and Life. Yeah, that's it. The online program that just will help you know exactly what to do at your house, what to avoid, probably is more important, but what to do. And then write down that one thing that you're going to do in the next 48 hours to propel you that way, to kind of get the ball rolling into making sure that your retirement's going to be the one that you really dreamed of. And then the third thing, most importantly, is to share that. You've got to use your mouth. Say it. It's amazing how it happens. So find someone to share it with. Say it out loud, maybe several people. Write it, put it on your mirror. Even if you're just talking to your cat or your dog, or to yourself in the mirror, just say, here's what I'm going to do. By tomorrow at noon, I'm going to get those papers out and have a conversation with my husband. Whatever it is, don't just think about it, write it, like it's a good idea that just kind of passes with all the others.
Mm-hmm.
Take action. And speaking it will help you put that action into motion. How's that for a challenge?
That's a great challenge. And folks, this actually ties into what we talked about today, preparing for retirement. I know that we are running out of time, but if you're just tuning in, please make sure you watch the replay. There was a lot of great content today in today's episode about retirement. Make sure that you follow Judy at judycopenbarger.com. And we are here every Tuesday at 8 o'clock. To sum it up, Judy, in maybe one or two sentences, walk away from this with retirement planning. What would you say to folks?
I would say do something. Take all those little dollars, take all these little dollars, 1, 2, 3, 5 at a time. And before you know it, you got all this going on, right? It's a good thing. It's a good thing. And not so you can just have the fastest, reddest car or live in the highest house on the hill, although I think those things are great. It's about your family. It's about your legacy. It's about really increasing the effectiveness of causes that you care about. It's about your lifestyle. It's about your family stories and just living a life that you dreamed of rather than doing your time. So go for it.
Absolutely.
Money's a good thing. Go get some.
All right, folks, you heard Judy. Come on, let's go out there and make some money. You got the challenge. Make sure you follow her at judycopenbarger.com. Thanks again, Judy, for joining us this morning. It's, as always, an awesome show and a lot of great information and wisdom that you're sharing with folks as well, too. So until next time, folks, again, make sure that you follow Judy Copenbarger at judycopenbarger.com. This has been another great episode of Money Truth Moments. Until next week, we'll see you guys later.